Hey, my name is Brent here on Cloudy the Chance Meeples. Welcome to Ideas, a time in which we sit down with designers, interviewers, and publishers in the board gaming hobby and chat about their designs and how they got their designs from just straight ideas to the board games that we love to play. And today we have a guest from halfway around the world for myself, being in Canada, from Denmark. Is that right, Dan?
Copenhagen.
Copenhagen.
I'm American though, by
Okay.
passport.
Okay, we have an American living in Copenhagen known as Dan Halstad. How are you doing today, Dan?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Well, thanks for joining me. So, I just before we dive in, you're an American living
Mhm.
in Copenhagen. What
Yep.
brought you halfway around the world?
My wife. So
That's like
yeah,
so many people's stories. So, like
yeah.
it
It's
happened to my
it's
dad
kind of the
actually. My dad was
yeah,
from the U.S. My mom was from Canada, and when they got married, and then they moved to
yeah.
Canada, where she was
I
from
love
originally.
Canada.
You've been to
I love
Canada?
Canada. Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. I grew up on the East Coast, so and I used to work in Buffalo quite a bit. So
Okay.
I and Toronto. So I used to go quite a bit up into the northern parts there on the east side.
Toronto's
Uh,
pretty much the States.
yeah, it
And
is.
probably Canadians are angry with me for saying that, and probably Americans are angry for me for saying that, but whatever, that's all right. But
Nah, I don't.
let
I've never met a Canadian that gets angry. So
that is true, actually true as well. So let's dive into gaming. That's what we're
sure.
talking about. Let's go back a number of years. I don't know when you started getting into gaming, but what did that look like? Did you play games as a family growing up? Did you stumble
Yeah.
into the gaming hobby in your teens, your young adult life, or what did that look like?
I mean, I've always been a gamer. I think so. I have three younger brothers. I'm the oldest of four.
Mhm.
So I think it's I guess if you're I mean, I'm a parent of one, but I can imagine if you're a parent of four, it's probably a nice way to get people to just sit around the table and maybe just interact in a positive way without punching each other in the face, which is what I think my brothers and I did probably most of the time when we weren't occupied with something.
Right.
As a family, I think we've always been, board gamers. Started, with the Life, the Scrabbles, the Monopolies, all that sort of thing. My dad was a big chess player, so I used to play quite a lot of chess
Mm-hmm.
in my younger years, both with him and at school and things like that. Um, and yeah, I think just always, I think I gravitated away from board gaming for a while. I'm a beta Magic player.
Okay.
So I started playing Magic 28 years ago when it first came out. I think it's 30 years now, but
Mm-hmm.
I was the beta, so a little bit later. And that's a really hard hobby to have when you're in your early teens,
Mm-hmm.
given the cost and things like that. So while I love TCGs, trading card games, quite a bit, I kind of gravitated out of that as I got into high school and focused on sports, and then uh, got back into it in university. I think I had some nerdy roommates, and we loved to play video games, board games, card game, everything. And I just never let go of it. It's always been a part of me. I love gaming, and I love sports. I love competition. I love all those things. So yeah.
Did you have a favorite game, like maybe when you got back into the hobby? Because that would have
Mm,
been, I guess, your college, university days. That would have been in the like early 2000s, I would
yeah.
imagine.
I mean, we were on the early Catan train.
Okay.
That was something that we used to like playing in, the late nights with a couple of beers,
Mm-hmm.
legally or illegally, I'm not going to say. But that was something fun that we could get around and kind of, talk a little bit trash to each other and still
Yeah.
have some good times. So that one, even though I don't play that, I haven't played that in like 15 years. It holds a special place, right? I
Right.
think for a lot of people, it's that introduction to the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that for a reason. It does what it does, and it does it well.
Mm-hmm. So, what are you playing these days? Obviously, you're a game designer, so you probably have prototypes
Nothing.
going on. But
Yeah.
are you playing? What are you playing these days?
Nothing, nothing from other people.
Okay.
Sadly. No, I think I'm still big. I'm still very heavy into the trading card games. I got back into that after the pandemic, quite a bit. I think with the pandemic, it was tough for a lot of people to get around and play board games,
Mm-hmm.
and I wouldn't say I lost a bit of interest in them. I just kind of came back, and I met some friends that were playing card games, and I just got back into it, and you probably know it's what they call a lifestyle game when you get into these trading card games, because they just consume your life, they
Mhm.
consume your income, they consume everything that you hold near and dear, including your time and your family.
Right.
So I play those quite a bit in my spare time, but when we're not doing that, then I have, as you mentioned earlier, Sidekick Games
Hmm.
that I run with two fairly well-known designers, Asger Granerud and Daniel Skol Peterson, who have done most recently Heat.
Hmm.
I think most people on your podcast would probably understand where I'm coming from with that one,
Yeah.
which has been a massive global success. We worked on that one, or they worked on that one quite a bit. I obviously helped with the development and things like that throughout the pandemic, but that is their baby.
Hmm.
And then, we have our games, the ones that are coming out are one per year that we really just put a lot of time and effort into. So I don't have much brain space. I don't do this full time. So yeah, it's
What
one of
is it?
those.
What is your full time job, if you don't mind me asking?
I work in investments.
Okay.
I do risk management, compliance, audit, that sort of stuff.
Okay.
So really, really boring day job. That's
Well,
why I kind of use the game design as my creative outlet.
right on. So
Yeah.
let's talk about that creative outlet. Sidekick Games,
Yep.
your first, I guess, initial launch is a game that you and your son co-designed.
Hmm. Yep.
Right there. Wow, I did that really
Yep. That's
quickly.
it.
Um,
I don't have it with me, so
that's
I
right.
can't point
Aqua,
to
Aqua.
it.
I love Aqua. Like I will,
Yeah, cool.
man. I love that game. Kind of when I first heard about it and first saw the images, I was like,
Hmm.
that's gonna be a game for me. And I think
Hmm.
sometimes you can know that without playing a game. And
Yep.
so let's dive into that.
Sure.
You co-designed it with your son, which is
Hmm.
really really cool. So let's
Yeah.
go back, I guess, a couple years. When did you guys start designing this game, and
Hmm.
what did it look like from the beginning?
So this was a COVID project. As you may know, I think here in Denmark, there were certain periods of the pandemic where they actually went very, very aggressive
Okay.
in shutting down the country,
Mhm.
basically.
Right.
And there were a couple of 2 to 3 month periods where my son was at home doing
Mm.
the homeschooling and all these
Right.
things. And it it's I think from what I've heard about the US, I don't I didn't experience the pandemic in the US. I was still here, but there was a bit more of a rigid schedule to what kids were doing online and these sorts of things. Whereas here in Denmark, it was like maybe 1 hour a day they were online with their
Mm.
teacher and their classmates,
Yeah.
and then the rest was up to the parents to kind of fill the space with either activities or kind of curriculum that was provided.
Yeah.
Um, but I wanted to give him something fun to do, and kind of he's a massive gamer. We've been gaming since he was like 2 years old.
Mhm.
Um, so he's got a very good grasp of game concepts, game mechanics, just kind of general games. So I thought let's foster that. And he's always been interested in some of the game designs I've been doing. So I started most of my design when I moved here to Copenhagen,
Okay.
um, because it's such a good kind of incubator as far as the talent that's here. I can name a ton of games that you probably don't even know came out of Copenhagen,
Hmm.
because I didn't know they came out of Copenhagen.
Right.
So it's quite cool to see the kind of the passion and the camaraderie that's here in the design community. It's a small place, so it's even easier to
Even
kind of
smaller.
foster it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but he wants to be a marine biologist. So I said, we watched a lot of documentaries. It's one of the ways I let him kind of curtail the TV rules that my wife sets
Mm.
for him, is
Yep.
you can watch TV, but it has to be a documentary.
Right.
So we watch a lot of marine life, marine things. And I don't know, I honestly can't pinpoint the moment that I had the idea for the game, but I showed it to him one day on the couch. We were just sitting there and I was like just playing with some hexagons. And to be honest, what you see today, the core game of base layer, matching corals, creating a hexagon habitat, attracting a large animal, that hasn't changed since that moment on the couch,
Wow.
which is quite cool.
Yeah.
That core system just works. It's extremely satisfying and tangible, and it's just got a tactile kind
Top
of
feeling.
dink,
Hmm.
dink, dink. Um, and you know, I was playing with that mechanism, and I just watching the documentary, I was like, this is a coral reef, right? Like it's a reef.
Hmm.
The animals live within the habitats of the reef, like the clownfish, lives in the enemas and stuff like that. And then the more kind of biodiverse kind of originally the large animals ate the small
Okay.
animals.
Hmm.
But we kind of changed that to just make it one kind of harmonious underwater world kind of
Yep.
thing. So yeah, it's kind of what I don't want to say lightning in a bottle because it hasn't done anything crazy yet, the game, but it's one of those designs where it made sense. I don't know.
Right.
I haven't
Mhm.
had many of those.
So I don't know. I'm not a Marine by all. Just I'm not like into that. Oh, well, I'm into that, but I'm not knowledgeable. Let's say that.
Yeah.
So the one with the clownfish, that yellow, like, would that be the native habitat of that fish? So like the seahorses in the
It's
pink, like, do
yeah.
those correlate, or is that just color matching?
No, I think no, they don't correlate directly. I think
Okay.
those are all real coral formations.
Okay.
So the artist Vincent Dutré, as you know, he was super excited for this project. And as you may know, we brought him on board for Heat.
Hmm.
Heat, many people probably don't know this, but we actually almost self-published Heat before Days of Wonder got involved. And, Days of Wonder gets involved, you give it to Days of Wonder. Um,
But in
so,
hindsight,
but
you're
we,
kicking yourself.
no,
No.
no, no,
Okay.
no, 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 not at
Okay.
all. Um, just happy for it. It's
Right
just
on.
such a great game.
Hmm.
And So like with Aqua, he was very much on board with it, and he doesn't. If you notice, he's very good at like people and sceneries and things. He doesn't do a lot of wildlife,
Hmm.
or he didn't at the point we brought him in. So he was quite curious and keen on it. So he lives in Korea. He's French, but he lives in Korea.
Hmm.
He was going to the aquarium. He was doing all kinds of research, like to get these things. So everything you see in the game is very true to its form. The
Hmm.
colors we had to tweak, obviously, to make it match the game and make it match colorblind friendly and these sorts of things. So yeah, I'm not sure the clownfish lives in the.
Okay.
I guess maybe it. I mean, that is the French fry. I call it the French fry coral. Um, Maybe that is the enema. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check it.
We'll just have to watch Finding Nemo and see what kind of habitat he
Yeah, yeah,
lives in, right?
exactly. See where they come from.
So you said you sat down on the couch and you had a couple hexes.
Yeah.
Do you love like hex pattern games? Because you had Beez as well, and that's which I haven't played, but I know I've seen enough of it, content of it, where there's hexes there too. So do
Yeah.
you just like that
I love
satisfying,
hexes.
like?
Yeah, there's so much you can do with a hex.
Mhm.
It's my favorite shape for a reason. I hate prototyping it though. It's such a nightmare to cut these hexes. So we finally got smart and we started actually learning how to use the laser cutter lab that's here in
Mm,
Copenhagen. So
yep.
especially for our next game that's coming out, which hasn't been announced, so I can't say anything. But it's got some wooden meatball, and so we started cutting them out and cutting the shapes of, and it just so much nicer that I don't have to cut these hexagons.
So when you did
Um,
when you did prototype that,
yeah.
did you just cut a whole bunch of hexes and then like your son like started like coloring the different
Mhm.
things, or like how did that look? Like how
I
how
found
involved was he in that
I
regard?
can see if you look on my Instagram, I actually have the original art, which is actually we never changed the art in the game all the way up until we handed it off to Vincent.
Wow.
So we changed the points, we changed some of these things, but the art and the kind of the visual, because it was very pastel, and I had an animal pack that just had, five small animals, five large animals kind of thing, and it worked. It just worked. It fit the shapes, it fit everything. So there was no need to change it, and it
Hmm.
it conveyed enough of the message and the layering with the color itself. So yeah, it's one of those games that's just been kind of a dream to work on in all facets of the production phase. So
How's it been for your son? And maybe this would be a question for him, but I'm going to ask you. Um, you know, he has this game box. Like I'm just thinking, your son's around 10, 11 now, whatever.
It's 10 now. Yeah.
10. I got a 10-year-old as well. So I'm
Thinks
trying
he's
to think.
24, but
Pardon?
he thinks he's 24, but
Uh,
he's 10.
okay, yeah. And so my son's 10 as well, and I'm thinking, oh man, is being a 10-year-old going back in time, be like, oh, it's show and tell day, and then this kid brings this kid brings this, and your son's like, this is the game that I designed with my dad that's being sold all over the world. Like, how does it
Yeah.
make him feel? Like, how does he handle
Oh,
this?
he's so blasé as a kid in general. He's fantastic. He's wonderful. He's super intelligent. He's just he's shy.
Mm,
So he takes to it a bit.
mm,
I think he likes it more than he leads on.
mm,
Um, we had here in Copenhagen when the game first came out on February 6th in the US, we had a release party we have a giant board game cafe, 300 plus seat board game cafe, has over 5,000 games, and it's massive. It's one of the centerpieces of Copenhagen for me. And Asmodee threw us a release party. So we had like 100 plus people come and play like the 8 or 9 copies of Aqua we had out on the tables. And he was signing some of the games that they were giving away. And I think he started to kind of feel it then. And 2 weeks later, we went to Cannes to the Festival du Jeu. And my wife is French, and my son speaks French fluently. So he was able to kind of communicate with people on the demo tables, and they would come up and shake his hand and say, "We really like your game." And I think he liked it, but he's still super shy. But yeah, it's super cool. And I see the box, I get super proud of him, right? Because he did put, I think a lot of people, and I think I've even been asked this directly, like, is it just a marketing gimmick? And it's not. The family game that is in the box is what Tristan and I designed. And the core game, the periphery little things that we added to it, that was Asger, Daniel, and I, with Tristan testing and things like that. So
as a dad, I can only imagine how like just like satisfying it is to see that, you know, and you have then the ties of the memories of sitting down during the pandemic, during let's just say a very dark time for a lot of people, right? And this is kind of like a spark of joy that came out of that time.
And it's super cool,
and I think that's fantastic. Something that's, when I play the game, it's always like you wish you had one more turn. Like I wish I just need that one more hex, because then I can get this, or I could bail this into a reef and double my score or whatever. What made you guys decide on 17 rounds versus 20 versus 15 versus 18?
Math. And I've seen some reviews where they said the same thing, but they've said it as a criticism. And to me, that's the hallmark of a great game, is that I just want to play it again because I want to optimize I know what I did wrong, or I know what I could do better, or I just wish I had one more turn. And
I'm not saying things,
but no, I didn't take it as a criticism.
But I'm just curious, right? Because there's so much that goes into a game that designers have to be like, okay, we should end the game now, because some games just drag on and other games feel too short. And it must be a challenge as a designer to get to that spot where like, this is it, right?
Math is the answer.
Okay.
And it's, so again, going back to what hasn't changed, there are 70 coral tiles in the game. They're all unique. So there's no 2 coral tiles that they're the same. And those are the 70 coral tiles that have been since the beginning. It was just a matter of mathing out at player count. We wanted, after testing, it's always been until the stack runs out. It was whether or not how many we had to take out for each player count and that sort of thing. And I think we landed on 17 because it was just very simple to do at each player count, that, it didn't change, right? We didn't want to be changing, and see it with the advanced and the family and the core, right? The game doesn't change, right? It's just little thing you add here, a little thing you add there. The game itself doesn't change. And we wanted that as well in the setup. We wanted it to be snappy and just not something people had to think about. So even when you turn over the home tiles, right, it's got the setup right on the back, and that's all you need. You just pull it out of the box. So, and fun fact with the 2-player game, you remove 35. So what that means is you can play, and then you can play immediately without even setting it up again.
You just slide over to the other half of your table and put another.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Basically, you could just set up the 6 new ecosystems on both sides of the small animals. Yeah.
I actually played last night. I taught 3 people. And it was fantastic. I won, but that's not why it was fantastic.
Good.
I actually I got 82 and I was pretty pumped.
Very good score.
I built my hotspot. I built one of every native animal around it. So
that's a challenge, I think.
It is, because you have to. I virtually had to get the exact 6 tiles to do that. And then I put 2 dolphins. I put 2 dolphins there, so it was like a ring of dolphins.
That's nice.
And so, it was. I loved it.
It's one of those. It's always had a table presence, and it's one of those things. At the end of it, you're just super proud of what you've made, or not. But then you play it again, and then you become super proud of what you made.
And I love just kind of exploring games. And
Yeah.
I think recently I've come to realization I play to win, obviously. I play to have
Yeah.
fun. I should
Yeah.
say that. And sometimes having fun is just to be like, I don't really care if I win this. Not
Yeah.
that I'm going to like king make and be like, okay, I don't care if I'm going to let this person win, but it's fun to be like, I've tried building a giant reef and see how many animals I can get around that reef
Yeah.
to double the score. Um, I don't know if I won that game, but it's just fun, just
It's
exploring
satisfying.
the design. Yeah, it is
Yeah.
satisfying. And I think that word has been like tied to this game because your son would say that quite often,
Yep.
right?
Yeah. That was in the, yeah, I think I put that in the designer diary. Um, but yeah, he anytime you make a double match with a tile, or a triple match is the hardest, but anytime you make a double match, he would just go, satisfying.
I don't know if I
Just
don't know,
under his breath, really
right?
quietly.
I don't
And
know
I
if I've
started to hit figure it out.
ever built it anticipating
Yeah.
like a double tile.
Yeah.
But you said there's 70 tiles and they're all unique. To be honest, I
Yeah.
didn't even catch that. Um,
Yeah. So there's, I think it maths out, don't quote me on this, anyone, but I think there's 6 of every combination you'd be looking for. So you can keep that as a little hint. I think that's how the math works.
so you can kind of
So if
plan
you're
out.
looking for purple, blue in the left, right, purple, blue, I think there's 6 of those tiles in the game.
So it would be like purple, blue, left, right, and then maybe like a pink on the
Yeah,
third side
something
or
like that, or
a
another blue,
green.
or another purple, or another green, or another yellow, or another
Mm-hmm.
red. So it's all, I think
Mm-hmm.
it's 6.
Did your son come up with the animals, or what made you guys pick the animals that you picked?
Yeah, we let him pick the animals.
So there's kind of his favorite animals.
Yeah, yeah, mostly. And then we were also quite cognizant when we picked the animals of, picking ones that either bring awareness to something like
Mm.
endangered. We didn't want to, not, I don't want to say trigger people, but we don't, we want to be very kind of mindful of the impacts on the ocean. It's also
Mm-hmm.
the reason you don't see any plastic
Mm-hmm.
inside the game
Yep.
whatsoever, is because we just, as a company, we didn't want that. And our next game won't have any plastic either inside. It's about the rainforest. I can give you that much.
I was gonna say,
Uh,
what is next for Sidekicks? Is Aqua is let's go first. Is Aqua a
mhm.
closed book, or depending on the success of it, you could add something?
Um, I don't know. We've yet to kind of develop our philosophy on expansions.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me personally, I'd rather just do Aqua 2 in another habitat, in another kind of biome or something like that, Antarctica, something along those lines,
Mm-hmm.
than kind of I don't want to say pollute this one, but like I love it the way it is. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I want to change that. And there's so much in the box already.
It's crazy.
Um, you can explore that. I mean, I've played it 400 or 500 times and I still love playing it. And I still find new ways to do something or hit a challenge that I haven't done. Or so
Mm-hmm.
there's so much in the box already. I don't know that it needs more, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the idea would be to do something different using kind of the Azul formula in a way, right? Do something familiar yet something that kind of remixes it a bit. Um, but you will, it's not a close. I mean, the first print for Aqua we're super proud of was in 14 languages,
Crazy.
I think.
Awesome.
And we've already got a second print run in the works, which is another 6 or 7.
Wow.
Um, so it's doing okay for us,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm hoping it gets a bit more, as it's a strange time of year to release in February,
Okay.
but it's also a good time of year because it's not as there's not as much pollution in the market, so
Mm.
like, and it's there's some good festivals and things like that.
It's kind of
um,
before all the major conventions here in North America, and then are obviously
Yep.
at
So it has
Essen.
some time to build a little bit up, and then if people don't see it or haven't heard of it, then it'll still be available at Origins, Gen Con, and those sorts of things this year.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's sold enough copies that they'll be somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, we're super happy with it. It's really kind of re-jumpstart our company. You may not know we did like a Walmart exclusive game called Bloomtown.
Okay.
And then here in the Nordics, we've done 6 small box games based on the Hans Christian Andersen fairy tales, which is a
Okay.
very big, popular Nordic kind of IP.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done those, but this is kind of the first in our what we call the generational games line, and it's
Mm-hmm.
really it's really working so far, and we're quite happy with the reception that Aqua's gotten.
Okay, so you said you couldn't talk much about, but Sidekick Games, what can you talk about? You said you're doing one major game a year. So are you planning that kind of every February, March that these will come out? Like you're
Yeah.
looking at kind of that, I guess, in the Western side of the world. For me, that would be like my season would be like the end of winter. I don't know what that would be for you guys if you would be.
Same. Oh
I'm
no, it's always
so
winter in Copenhagen. It's
okay.
always winter.
In Canada, yeah, it's pretty much always winter. We're like,
Yeah.
we're still in the minus temperatures. I think like yesterday it was like 21, like just
Yeah.
21. Okay, let's say that's
21
Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit. Yeah, yeah.
That's Fahrenheit. It's still like I don't know whatever, but I think it was minus 12
Yeah.
when I woke up this morning. I'm like,
Oh jeez. Yeah.
it's so cold. But
Yeah, and it's almost April, right? It's almost Easter, and it's still that cold. Yeah, it's
I
same
know.
here. It's not that cold. We're like 10 Celsius,
Okay,
but it's still windy and rainy and
yeah.
gray, and
So you're kind of looking at the same time of year for these games.
for now, it's worked. Our partners like it as well because, as I said, their catalog is not as congested in this time frame, so it's something that they can help promote. You'll probably notice in the U.S. North America market, we have it with the Op,
Yep.
who's been an amazing partner for us, and they've really helped push. And I went to Gamma 2 weeks ago in the
Okay.
U.S. and really kind of saw the fruits of their efforts and got to talk to the retailers directly and sell some games and stuff. So it was really, really fun experience for me to see that part of the business. I don't, because we don't get involved in that with Sidekick, right? We're not marketers, we're not salespeople. We just make good games. But I think for us, it's also a matter of the development cycle. We put 2 to 3 years into these games, and a lot of times like I said, the cores are so simple that they don't change. But then it's nailing the periphery, right? Nailing the kind of the different modes, the advanced scorings, the art, the graphic design, making it all language independent, those sorts of things. So it's a lot of work
So
outside of the game design piece of it as well.
Will your next game be like that 30 to 60 minutes as well?
Yeah, it'll be 30 to 60 minutes. It'll be the same price point. It'll be the same artist, I can tell you.
Okay.
And it'll be designed by Asger and Daniel. So I can tell you all that.
Okay. Right on.
I don't know when, I don't know. I don't know. It's coming. That's for sure.
Don't get yourself in trouble.
Yeah.
I'm not trying
No.
to.
It's coming.
I'm not weaseling
So
around to get exclusive information.
I'm happy to share what I can. I don't have a lot to share at this point, but you'll see it. That's the good thing.
Right on. Okay, so as we wrap up, so if someone wants to know more, if they want to, get in on the up and comings of what you guys are doing at Sidekick Games, how can they find you? You mentioned your Instagram, you had old pictures of Aqua and social media and stuff like that, but where can they get a hold of you guys?
So me, I'm on Instagram and Twitter. It's scandalous_nad, NAD, which is just Dan backwards.
Okay.
Sidekick Games itself, our website is under construction at the moment. That's something we've been a bit lax on because we focus on the games. That's our excuse, at least. But you can reach out to us through, I think the contact info is on there if you really need to get hold of us, or BGG, or my email, dan.halstad@gmail.com, or any of these. So yeah, you can find us everywhere. But Daniel and I are on Twitter mostly. Asger kind of is off on Facebook, but yeah, we can be found.
Well, I am incredibly excited to see what you guys are going to come down the line, because my sweet spot in gaming is that 30 to 60 minutes. If you look at my shelf behind me, the majority of my games here can be played in under an hour. There's some exceptions, Everdell and
no, but it's a good lineup you have behind you. I was admiring it earlier.
So I'm excited to hear that and to see what it is. Before I let you go, I guess my final thing, you said you were looking at the games behind it. If you had to pick one of these cubes that you could only play the games in it for the rest of your life, which cube would you pick out of the 6 you can see? I'm curious. I don't know your gaming style, but I'm just curious as to what would you pick?
I have to say the Aqua cube, right? It's got Azul as well, so I could play those two. And King of Tokyo is one of Tristan's favorite games, so I would pick that. I've never played Deception, and I can't read the one on top of Deception.
That's Canvas.
Oh, Canvas. I like Canvas. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd take that one. I'd take that one.
I love Canvas.
If you could switch
Deception's
Deception with Barren Park, I think I'd almost have a perfect cube. So,
oh, right on. Well, like I said, check out Sidekick Games, check out Aqua. It's an absolutely fantastic game. So much content, as Dan mentioned, in the box. Just puzzly fun, lots of challenges, like 50 challenges that you can wrap your mind around.
Yep.
Family variant, gamer variant, just amazing. So check out Sidekick Games and all their stuff. If you want to know more about Cloudy Chance of Meeples, we're on Facebook, Cloudy Chance of Meeples, post pictures of what we're playing and, you know, all the shenanigans that is board gaming and whatnot.
Board gaming. Yeah.
I truly believe that community is built on conversation, much like games are built on ideas. So thank you, Dan, for taking the time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And until next time, grab your umbrella. The forecast is cloudy with a chance of meeples.